All right, guys, the 2023 KTM XCs just dropped, and they're dropping the TPI. I can't believe it. They're going to TBI, and I think that is going to be super awesome. I noticed that the carb bike just has a little bit more low-end grunt to it, and they feel a little bit lighter. So I'm looking forward to getting rid of that oil tank in the frame, going back to premix, and trying out these new 23 XCs. I think there's a balance of good things and bad things about this redesign, but I'm really excited about a lot of these things. First of all, the throttle body injection, that's TBI, no longer the transfer port injection, TPI. And this is going to allow us to run premix again. So basically, it's going to be much safer, and you're not going to have to hope that your oil injector doesn't randomly go out and your bike blows up. One of my friends, he believes that the oil injector also doesn't work when the bike is upside down. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of this, but his theory was when his bike flipped over, the oil injector didn't work, and the bike was still running, and it grenaded itself at it only had 40 hours on it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you've had any problems with the TPIs. Mine went for 350 hours, and I never had an issue with the oil pump going out, so that's good. But one of the thing is that I noticed that on the carb bikes, when I'm riding my carb bike, it has much more bottom end, and it feels a lot lighter than my TPI. It just kind of moves around easier. I'm not sure what's going on. I guess the TPI has a lot more weight in the frame. So I'm hoping when they go back to this TBI, it's going to bring back that crazy bottom end that I've been kind of missing since when I've been riding that TPI. Also, it'd be nice to not have to carry around all that extra oil in the frame. It's just going to be lighter all around. So yeah, the bike will be much lighter with the lack of oil, and it'll also have a lighter swing arm, frame, rear shock, all these different things that they're updating on this new bike. These bikes are claimed at 220.68 pounds without fuel, but that's an XC, so keep that in mind, guys. It's not the XCW. The XCs are always lighter than the XCWs because the XC has the air forks. And to me, I see that as a downside. Just consider that when you're thinking about the weight savings, because they did drop 2.65 pounds on this XC versus their previous XC. Another cool thing that I liked about this bike is that it has kind of the built-in lift holes in the airbox. I'm not sure, like, what would you call that? Like a lift handle. I think that'll help move the bike around in those hard enduro situations. I still think like a grabber strap, I make the Trailbound grabber straps. I still think those are going to be really helpful and useful for pulling the bike around. But the more ways to move the bike, the better, because I'm always repositioning my bike and getting set up. So another cool thing is the radiator hose. It says that they have a temperature gauge inside of that, so you'll be able to have an onboard reading of the temperature. They added brackets to mount the skid plate. The WP Exact rear shock got lighter and shorter, but it still has the same 300 millimeters of travel, so that's pretty good. But I do love the fact that they added thumb adjusters for compression, or the high speed and low speed compression, as well as the rebound. That'll make it a lot easier to play with the suspension on the trail. Normally you can do that with the forks, but the rear shock, you have to get out a wrench and a screwdriver. I do like that they mentioned that the fuel pump hose is in a new position, so hopefully now you won't have to buy that little aftermarket aluminum one that we've been buying for the TPIs, because the hose should be more tucked up on the inside of the tank and not be so prone to getting hit by rocks and sticks and such. So they did include a mapping switch, which is kind of nice, I guess, if you're a 250 guy, which I used to always be, diehard 250 guy, but recently I've been running the 300s. And with the mapping switch, you don't need a mapping switch. These bikes lug so crazy that it's just not really necessary. They mentioned that the pipe is more tucked up to the frame for higher clearance. S3 did kind of come up with a pipe design recently that had the similar idea, more tucked up, higher clearance, so you're not going to hit it on boulders and stuff when you're dropping off of things. But it's kind of hard to tell how tight it is in the photos, so we'll just have to see. But those KTM pipes are like tin cans, so you're going to be replacing that anyways. But what I hope is that FMF will pick up this new design and do the kind of tucked up thing as well. So jumping into some of the negatives, of this 2023 XC. You know, for me, this one's going to be maybe controversial. I'm not quite sure. They mentioned that it's electronic power valve. So for me, just starting out on the Sherco, just a few rides on it, I'm noticing that the power valve is really screwing with me, and the electronic part of the power valve, like it changes while I'm riding, and it's just throwing me off. Normally on my rides, when I go to different spots or different, you know, if it's slippery or if I'm riding faster or whatever, if I get pipe dents, I'm changing that power valve manually on my bike to compensate for the bike. So right now I can't change that on my Sherco. Like I can't make it more snappy and aggressive, which is really annoying. I'm told that you can do it with a laptop or something, but you know, I haven't figured that out yet. I think I'm gonna need to flash the head on that Sherco. But anyways, that's besides the point. I think that I would really like a manual power valve. But let me know what you guys thought. If you have experience with these electronic ones, if you like them, let me know what the pros and cons are. So so this one's gonna get a lot of people. They went to the plastic subframe. After, you know, there's just so many complaints on Instagram. Everyone that I know that rides hard enduro or rides kind of gnarly stuff has broken a subframe. You know, you practice wheelies in the parking lot and you loop your bike out and you're gonna break that thing. This one, on the new bike, this 23, the new frame, it shows it has like aluminum pieces, kind of like the current KTM's, but the top is plastic. And I think some people might say that the lower part on the Husky ones is more prone to breaking, but I kind of imagine that if you have an aluminum there, it's just gonna transfer the braking to the top of it, so the top's just gonna start breaking. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a deal breaker for you? I'm pretty concerned about having a plastic subframe. I think that they'll probably keep the aluminum one on the gas, so maybe that's what people are just going to go to. They're going to start riding the gases if they don't want that plastic subframe. They're claiming that it makes it lighter and it gives it more rigidity and whatnot, but it's hard to beat that aluminum subframe. If you bend it, you can bend it back. Unfortunately, to get this TBI, you have to get the XC model if you want it right away. If you want it coming up this year, you're going to have to get the XC, which, don't get me wrong, I love the XC gearbox and I love the XC linkage, and I just like how the XCs ride, but I don't really love the air forks for riding really slow technical stuff. I really like spring forks for riding trial stuff. It's just so much smoother. I'm not a heavy rider, so I just need to be able to make them nice and soft. And also, I've noticed with the air forks, you have to stay up on the maintenance a lot more if you want to keep them plush, which, it's just, there's a lot of things to stay up on, and sometimes I miss the fork interval. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The air forks are definitely lighter, which is cool, but man, if I got this new bike, I would probably I'd swap the forks right away. But maybe they made some improvements. I'm not quite sure. The next thing that I don't know if it's a typo or what, there's actually some controversy going on. It's saying that on the site, in the spec sheet, it says 5-speed transmission. Normally all the XCs and XCWs are 6-speed. The SXs are 5-speed. And it's like a Yamaha's a 5-speed, but the 6-speed transmission is really nice. Don't get me wrong, I almost never out of first, second, and third for hill climbs. But when you do transfer sections and you're riding down the road or whatever, it's nice to have that 6th gear, because generally on these bikes we gear them way down with a 51 or even 52 tooth. So you end up having to use those high gears when you're transferring. So this is kind of a bummer to see that it's a 5-speed. However, there's, it says in the spec 5-speed, but there's a picture of the parts catalog for a 2023 250 XC floating around, and it says 6-speed. It says there's a 6th gear that you could purchase, so it's assuming that parts catalog is claiming that it's actually 6-speed. So I don't know who did the typo. Was it the parts guy, or was it the marketing person doing the website? KTM has been known for messing things up like this, so Yeah, we'll just have to see. Someone at KTM is going to be in big trouble, though, I think, if depending on what the answer is. Really hoping it's a 6-speed, though, personally. Is a 5-speed like a no-go for you guys? I'd be curious to hear. Next up, it's got gigantic shrouds on it. It looks pretty cool, I think. Like, it looks pretty slick, sharp. I like the sharp lines and everything. But I saw in person, Let's Ride had one of the 4-stroke models with the same plastics on it, and the shrouds look huge. I already have a problem catching my shrouds on bushes and branches and breaking them. I do run brush bungees, these things I sell in the store. They're like rubber elastic things, so it lets the shroud uh, flex out instead of breaking. But the new KTM shrouds look really big, so we'll see how that goes. Kind of a minor thing, but we'll see. The foot pegs look really good. I like the updated foot peg design. They look wider, but it says that they moved them inward. I'm not sure what inward means. It says it's to clear rocks and have higher clearance and whatnot. So I think that means forward and higher, which is kind of strange because like the trend right now in hard enduro is that like everyone's running the low and back pegs to get the weight farther back and closer to the rear tire where you need that traction. This is a common way for the trials bikes. The trials bikes have them way back. The Sherco has pretty high foot pegs that I'm noticing, and I'm really not liking it compared to my KTM. So I'm trying to get some low and backs for that and see if it fixes it. But yeah, kind of a bummer if they move the foot pegs higher up because I don't know. I really like the stock foot pegs, and I like not having to change them out, but we might have to change them to some low and backs. Some minor notes. They say that the engine case is thinner to make it lighter. It kind of scares me a little bit. I always run the Trail Jammer clutch and stator guards, on the vulnerable parts. But I don't know. We'll see if this thinner engine case has any issues with other pieces of engine braking. Probably not, but you never know. Something to pay attention to. So they did combine the start-stop button into one unit now, and it's on the right side of the bar. I'll have to wait and see in person, but I really did like the really small start and kill buttons that the current KTMs have. I always flip that so that the starter button's on the left and that the kill button's on the right. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that with this double button thing. It looks like a little bit bulky plastic thing that's going to be easy to break, but we'll see. Maybe it's better. Who knows? I'm just hoping that I can move it over to the left and it won't be awkward. There's still no kickstart on this bike, and even worse, now you can't even add it onto the bike. So that's really frustrating. If you look at any of the factory pro riders, they all have kickstarts on their hard enduro bikes. So I'm not really sure why they're eliminating this option altogether. I guess it's to save weight, save money, but kind of frustrating there. So there's just tons of different things on this bike that they did, and I can't get into all the details, but I'm excited that it's going to be lighter. It's going to be transfer body injection. I think it's just going to be a great bike, and I really hope I can get a hold of one of them to try out. So let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? Is this subframe and 5th gear a deal breaker, or is that TBI gonna get you onto an XC? I know a lot of you guys run XCWs. Are you gonna get an XC so you can try it out? Let me know down in the comments what you think. I'll see you guys out on the trail.